My name is Clara Whitmore. I am 28 years old and I live in Sunnyvale on the western coast. I have this vibrant yet hectic life, filled with work and dreams of more than just getting by. My room is my sanctuary, filled with art supplies and the remnants of my creative mind. But to put it bluntly, life has not been that easy. I grew up without safety nets or support, and every day is a balancing act of two jobs while trying to carve out some time for myself. My friends are everything to me, and I often invite them over for game nights or cooking parties, trying to bring joy into my space. It has been months since I had a day off, so you can imagine my disappointment when things took a turn for the worse. One particular weekend, I mustered the energy to invite a few friends over to celebrate the brief moment of freedom in my schedule. The plan was simple: cheap beer, snacks, and a treasure trove of laughter to tide me over until work consumed my life again. Little did I know that it was during this celebration that I would meet the storm in my peaceful life, a whirlwind of chaos and confusion. One of my friends invited a guy named Chuck, a friend of a friend. By the time Chuck arrived, I was feeling the relaxed vibe of the evening. He had a grin that could charm anyone and an energy that filled the space. Somewhere in between laughs, he casually mentioned a girl named Debbie from his share house. Apparently, she had been kicked out more times than I could count in the last year. Out of sheer curiosity, I asked what brought this about. Chuck shrugged, saying something about her being reckless. A little inebriated and feeling like I had room to take a good deed under my wing, I made a comment about how maybe Debbie could use a stable place to crash. Carelessly, I opened the door to potential chaos, ignoring the warning signs that rang like alarm bells in my ears. Desperate to escape her inexplicable turmoil, Debbie showed up the very next morning, looking small and lost, yet with a glimmer of hope in her eyes. I welcomed her into my home with the simplest set of rules: pay rent, stay tidy, and keep the ruckus to a minimum when it came to late-night activities. Little did I know that this seemingly simple decision would throw my carefully arranged life into disarray. In the start, things went well. Debbie kept her end of the bargain. For 3 or 4 days, there was peace. But peace in my world never lasts long. I came home late from work one night, bone-tired through every muscle. After locking up my door and showering, I crawled into bed. I was ready for sleep to claim me. The late hours were creeping in when a cacophony erupted from Debbie's room, ringing out like sirens blaring at midnight. There I was, groggy but instantly awake, pushing away the fog of sleep. What was that shrieking noise? It was unbearable, and suddenly, the soldier within me unleashed a torrent of warnings. Moments later, wide awake, I had this flash of resolve. My military training kicked in, my mind racing faster than my heart. In the back of my mind, I recalled a 5-gallon bucket I kept in my en-suite bathroom for laundry. With an urgency born from frustration and rising anger, I filled that bucket with icy water. I wasn't going to let my sanctuary be invaded by mindless chaos. I flung open Debbie's door to find her entangled with some scrawny guy, the two of them lost in absolute ecstasy, oblivious to the noise they were creating. I bellowed, "Enough!" and drenched them both with the cold water. The shock registered immediately, their laughter turning into gasps. Leaving them in stunned silence, I quickly locked myself back into my room, chuckling to myself. I could hear the pounding on the door and the furious shouting from Debbie in the wake of my interruption. It was utterly ridiculous, yet I felt a surge of triumph. Sure enough, within an hour, the scrawny guy and a drenched Debbie left the house, likely plotting their revenge. Curiously amusing as this entire ordeal was to me, it did not end that way. When I returned from work the next evening, I found a note from Debbie on the kitchen table, scathing and venomous. She berated me for my lack of respect, declaring she would rather live with a bleepity, bleep, bleep than share a roof with someone who thought such antics were acceptable. Not only did she empty out her side of the apartment, but she also took that scrawny guy with her. News spread that they had moved in together. In my mind, I believed that this was highly amusing, but little did I know that there would be unforeseen consequences. The following weeks turned into gossip wrapped in laughter among my friends. I was a beacon for all things funny and outrageous when it came to Debbie's dramatic departure, but I never expected it to escalate. My life resumed in its chaotic rhythm of work and late-night tranquility until one fateful Friday evening. A friend came over and asked me if I had been following the local news. With curiosity piqued, I fiddled with my phone, and my heart sank as the headline read, "Couple found living loudly in the quiet neighborhood." It was Debbie, deeply entrenched in this wild lifestyle. Shocked, I realized she had become an infamous figure in our community. The irony struck me like lightning. In an unexpected twist, I learned that Debbie and her scrawny boyfriend had a habit of throwing loud parties that upset everyone in the area. Their reputation quickly went from wild parties to disruptive nuisances, and in the neighborhood, they had become quite the laughing stock. It was poetic justice. The people who had treated her poorly, the ones who had pushed her out, were now cursing their luck. I had to admit to myself, while part of me felt justified and amused, another part recognized I was still tangled in the web of my decisions. The echoes of late-night explosions of laughter took the form of sleepless complaints lodged against my former housemate. I found peace, at least for the moment, as the distant shouts from the now disgraced couple faded into the background of my once quiet life. Ultimately, my sanctuary remained intact, and while it might have been at the expense of others, I learned a good lesson. I realized the importance of being mindful in my actions and decisions. Life was not merely a series of echoes from the past. It was a continuous cycle until you broke it. Today, I can sit back in my serene world, creating art, surrounded by friends who respect my space. The memory of Debbie is now just an amusing chapter in my own story of adventures, with laughter echoing through the walls of life, a reminder to tread carefully.